Hello and welcome back to Social Media and the Law. My name is Deborah Gonzalez and I'm your instructor. Today's session is about badvocacy. It's when bad social media happens to good companies and also what we can do about it. As always, I start off with my disclaimer that what I present to you is for educational purposes only. It does not constitute legal advice. If you have a specific matter, you do want to seek legal counsel. So, we're talking about when bad social media happens to a company. But what is social media? I'm going to use the same definition I've been using up to now, a communications tool, as well as a way to disseminate information. Okay, so what is this thing called badvocacy? B-A-D-O-V-O-C-A-C-Y. It's on your handout. And think about, when we had advocates, people who are going to talk and are fans of our company, versus a badvocate, people who are giving negative comments about your company. So basically, badvocacy is when someone, and that could be anybody, it could be, a disgruntled employee, or it can be a client that wasn't satisfied, or it could be somebody who doesn't even know your company, but just because they used a product or a service, they were not happy with it, okay? And they spread negative comments on social media platforms and networks, okay? Sometimes they are on a mission to let everybody know the worst of what happens, okay? And so if you think about it, when you have a good experience, you may tell a couple of people. When you have a bad experience, you'll usually tell anybody who will listen to you. Well, now these people, if they have bad experiences, they're actually going to tell a lot more people than ever because they're going to use social media networks to do that. Okay. Now, what does badvocacy look like? Well, it could be something small and it can sneak up on you, or it could be something big and just takes you by storm. Okay, so I want to go over some examples of badvocacy for you. And the first one I'm going to go over is one of GoDaddy.com's founder. His name is Robert Parson. And he has his own personal blog, not a GoDaddy company blog, but his own personal blog. And apparently, Mr. Parson likes to go elephant hunting in Zimbabwe. And one of the times that he went hunting, he helped kill a problem elephant. And he videotaped it. And in fact, he videotaped part of the villagers slaughtering the elephant for meat. Okay. Now, while he was taping, though, a lot of the villagers had on these orange baseball caps that said GoDaddy.com. Okay, so even though it was his personal blog, it was still advertising the company because the company logo, GoDaddy.com, was actually on those baseball caps. So this happened in March of 2011, and on the handout you can see the link of where to go and look at the actual video. And what happened where people were appalled, those who for animal rights said, oh, this is horrible, how can you condone this? But they didn't get the rest of the backstory of what had actually happened. This was a rogue elephant who was destroying the crops of the village. It wasn't that they were going out and hunting elephants all the time. It was this particular elephant who had gone rogue, and they needed to take care of it because if not, by destroying the crop, it was actually making the villagers starve. And so they needed to contain that problem. But when people just saw the YouTube video of just showing, the part of the villagers slaughtering the elephant, and without any of the rest of the backstory, it created a very controversial series of comments coming out against GoDaddy and against Parsons. So again, if you're going to do something online, make sure you have a complete story there. Make sure that everybody knows exactly what is happening, not just that somebody is going to assume things by an image that they see, okay? The other lesson from this, though, is sometimes you need to keep your personal life personal. He may enjoy hunting elephants. He may have been doing it for the right reasons, but maybe it wasn't appropriate for him to just put it out on his blog and put it out there. So you want to keep that in mind. It's always about educating people what they should or should not post. And sometimes if there's any doubt at all, don't post it, okay? Now, our next example actually comes from the American Red Cross. We have a tweet on their official Twitter account, and it says, Ryan found 2 more 4-bottle packs of Dogfish Head's Midas Touch beer. When we drink, we do it right. Okay. Later on, in order to correct that, Red Cross came out and said, we deleted the rogue tweet, but rest assured the Red Cross is sober and we've confiscated the keys. Now, in this scenario, they were trying to what? To come back and fix it with a little bit of humor, understanding that, sometimes these things happen. But when you're talking about taking people's blood and using sharp needles and things like that, how much confidence? People don't exactly like getting shot or getting needles in their arms to begin with. So having a tweet that sort of talks about, well, they do it better while they're drunk or that they've had alcohol does not instill a lot of confidence. It could have been a lot worse than what it turned out. They responded quickly. They responded with some humor, but humor you have to be careful about, because using humor, it's very easy to offend people. Not everybody has the same sense of humor. And, for some people, this is a very serious issue, taking blood out and being drunk while you're doing it, whether they were or were not, right? We never get the sense that they actually did drink. They were sort of like joking about this. But even the perception that there might be some Red Cross volunteers drinking as they're doing this can really raise some issues against the reputation. But again, a good lesson there, respond quickly. Don't just ignore the situation, but respond, okay? Now, here's another one. Whole Foods, which is that very organic type of grocery store, their CEO, John McKay, well, he was widely regarded as a leader in business ethics. He would speak about business ethics. He would speak about social responsibility of businesses. Well, there was a Yahoo message board, and apparently he was anonymously posting for 2 years in this board under the pseudonym of Rahadeb. Now, Rahadeb is spells backward his wife's name of Deborah. Okay, and what he was posting were bashing against their competitor, Wild Oats. And apparently what happened was he was posting these things against Wild Oats, saying how they were not a great company, this and that, trying to get their stock price down because Whole Foods was trying to buy them out. Now, this all came out of an SEC investigation, that they found out that this was what he was doing, trying to get Wild Oats stock down so that Whole Foods can buy them. This is also what we call astroturfing, trying to go in as somebody else and putting comments that are inappropriate or fraudulent or just false. So he got caught into the SEC penalties as well. So something to be careful about. The next one we're going to look at, we have a lot of things that come out from the celebrity and entertainment world. And this one deals with Courtney Love. She tweeted about a former attorney, a former lawyer, and what she tweeted was, I was blank devastated when Rhonda J. Holmes Esquire of San Diego was bought off. In other words, she was claiming that her lawyer actually took a bribe while she was representing her. The lawyer, Rhonda Holmes, I mean, you have the name there, right? There's no way of assuming, oh, she meant somebody else, or you can't identify who it was that she was talking about. It is very clear right there. Now, this is also a case of what we would call defamation of character, because it's a false statement. There was no way to prove what Courtney Love was allegating against her attorney. She got a lot of bad press for this. She also got a legal bill of over $400,000 that she had to pay that attorney because of that libelous statement. Okay? Now, those are just some examples. There are more examples. I'm sure you've seen a couple and you know a couple off the newspapers and off the news reports on television. Okay. But why does badvocacy happen? Why do individuals go out and start putting up some negative comments about you or your company? The first reason is because they've had some kind of bad customer service. It was either with the process or with a particular employee. So for example, they might be calling to get some technical help and they're just frustrated. They can't get the help that they need, or that customer service representative was a little rude. Once that happens, see, before, customers really didn't have a voice to tell people, you know, they've had this bad experience. They may have told a couple of friends, but now with social media, they can tell everybody. And if the company has a forum, like let's say the company has a Facebook fan page, this customer who did not receive good customer service can now go to that fan page and describe their bad experience. Okay, now there are some who will describe the bad experience in a way to try to get help to have it resolved. And then there are others who will describe it in a way just to trash the company. There's nothing you can do to make it better for them. They actually just want to trash the company. Okay. Another reason why they may create some badvocacy is because they may be, the way your company is servicing them may be inconsistent depending on certain channels. Now, a couple of years ago, there was a big storm at one of the major airports, and one of the airlines had to cancel some flights. Well, it turned out that those individuals who knew the Twitter account for that airline were able to get booked on a flight sooner than those who had no Twitter access. And this raised a lot of questions of why is it that on Twitter you can get better customer service than if you had gone to the desk for that. So you want to make sure that if your client is going to offer customer service in different platforms, that they're all consistent so that the customer using them feels that no matter how they access that company, they're able to get the service that they need. Okay? One of the other reasons why badvocacy may happen is when the reality does not meet the hype or the expectations. Just think about, for example, in the movie industry, you see a trailer for a movie and people are talking about how great this movie is and how wonderful it is and you have to go, and then you go and see it and it's sort of like, okay, it was okay, but it certainly didn't meet up to the hype. Well, that can happen as well with customer service, is that people believe that it should be some way, or a new product came out and it should be just wonderful with all the bells and whistles, and then you're disappointed because it's really not like that. You can see some negative comments coming out of that process there. Okay, so one of the things that we've seen is KRC Research has actually done a survey, and it claims that 20% of global online adults, okay, so 20% of the adult population global are badvocates. And so they've actually said something negative about a company. Now, it doesn't mean that they've been out there and, you know, they were going to just target this company. It just means that they've made a statement, a negative comment about something of their experience with that company, okay? They're passionate about what happens to them. They want people to know, and more importantly, they want the company to know that they're letting people know. And at least they will share with at least 14 others. Now, if it was just face-to-face, that's 14 people, right? But if they're sharing with 14 others on Facebook, those 14 others may share with 14 others, and 14 will share with 14 others, and you sort of see that bread commercial, you know, 2 plus 4 plus 8 plus 16 sort of thing, that multiplying effect of just how many people actually get to hear about this bad experience. Now, there are individuals that are out there that they just like to complain, any little thing is going to make them complain. They don't really care about a resolution. They're just out there to talk about something negative. We call these individuals trolls, Trolls, and they're individuals that just go out and they look for the negative and they start complaining about it. When you're dealing with trolls, one of the things to keep in mind is don't take it personal, or don't let your client take it personal. And don't feed the trolls. In other words, don't engage with them one-on-one, on and on and on, because what you're doing is that's what they want. They want that engagement to keep talking about the negative. They want to keep, they want to fill up your forum with all negative comments. So if you keep engaging them in that forum publicly, they're going to keep it up, okay? So how do they advocate? I mean, we talked about the postings, but they can do it on Facebook. They can do it on Twitter. They might have a conversation with an individual or send it out by email, okay? They may call in to a radio show. They may go to a conference that they know that a company representative is going to speak, and they may have a comment at the end that's not very positive or even relevant to what was spoken about, but just a peeve that they want to discuss. They might write it in their blogs or put it on a podcast. They might create a YouTube video. They might wear a button or create apparel, a t-shirt against the company, and many, many other ways. I mean, they're creative. They're very creative. And what we talk about is that the new tool for consumer advocacy right now is web connection and an input device. So the picture that you have in your handout is about a smartphone, right? If you have a web connection and you have a way to get information into that web connection, you now have this very powerful tool to go up against and to have your consumer voice heard. Okay, so now that we've looked at what advocates do, why they do it, let's take a look at some of the steps we can do when this happens to us, or some steps that we can actually advise our clients when it should happen to them. The first thing is be proactive. In other words, you have to be listening to what's happening out there in social media as it relates to you and your company, okay? So, number one thing, develop procedures and policies. We went over policies in the last session, but procedures, in other words, what do you do when X happens? Is there somebody that people need to advise and put on notice and say, hey, this is what I saw, this is what you need to take a look at? Make sure you have those procedures, and make sure that people, the employees on your staff, whether it's a paralegal or a receptionist or the employees for your clients, make sure they know what they need to do, okay? Establish guidelines for employees on how to use social media and then train them on it. Also, you want to train them on whether they should respond or not. And usually what you want to do is you don't want all employees responding to all the posts that are out there about your company. Instead, you really want the employees to go to one central location, whether it's the PR department, the communications department, whoever it is that usually is a spokesperson for your firm or for your client's company, that's the person who should be responsible for the responses, not all employees, because all employees may respond differently and may not respond in the best way for your company, okay? Register email addresses and domain names that may be detrimental to your company. Now, lately, I'm sure that you've all heard about the XXX domain name that's coming out. Now, this XXX.xxx, like we usually have a .com, well, the .xxx, that domain level was actually created for the adult industry, but it created a lot of controversy because a lot of big name trademark owners were concerned that now we were going to have another series of cyber squatting, of people going in, taking their trade name and putting the .xxx on it and holding it sort of like for cyber ransom. And that's still going on today. So keep in mind, it's something that you might want to go over with your own law firm, something you want to go over with your clients. Are there any of their names, their logos, their trademarks with a .xxx, and how can that then affect their reputation? Okay, so it's something to keep in mind. Assign social media to key employees only. Maybe, we have all of these new titles and positions. So we have reputation managers and online content curators, social media guru. Whatever title that you're using for that person, make sure that they have the authority to do the social media, but they also know where that authority stops, where they need to go and get a final approval from your client or from your firm. Okay, so make sure you're keeping that in mind. Another thing to do is listen. If you have some people that are out there in social media, have them do some searches about your company name, or have your client do searches about their name and see what's being said out there. But also, don't just put your company name. You might want to use some other words with it, such as company hate or bad or doesn't care, or even the name of the company and sucks. There's lots of times where you'll see these websites started up with the name of the company sucks.com, and it's, again, disgruntled clients or customers who have just not been happy, and so they decided to put up this website. So don't just Google or search your name, also search it with some of these derogatory or negative terms so that you can get a more comprehensive search while you're out there. And even though you're looking for the negative, also when you find a comment that's positive, cultivate that. Cultivate the people who are writing the positive comments as advocates, as your loyal fans. Reward them, thank them, acknowledge them. Lots of times people, they don't necessarily need a monetary reward. They don't necessarily need something physical. I mean, sometimes like company swag, like a t-shirt or a tote bag with the company logo or a mug with the company logo can go a long way with some of your fans if they are thrilled about you, if they love you to begin with. A little thing like that rewards them, but again, have them recognize your company name can go a very long way. Okay, now that's being proactive. That's going out there trying to find the issues before those issues become too big. But let's say something happens. What do you do next? The first thing is read it carefully. If it's a written post on Facebook or a tweet on Twitter, read it carefully and then make sure you know what the true issue is. Is it that they did not like your product, or is it that they did not like the person that they spoke with at your company when they were trying to resolve an issue with the product, a personality issue, maybe with a representative of your company? So you really need to get to know what are the facts of the issue. What is this person really complaining about? What is their negative feedback about? Okay? Always reach out to them publicly first and then take the issue offline. And the reason why you want to have some kind of response public is so that other customers and other clients can see that you're not ignoring the issue, that you're addressing it. But then invite that person offline. Ask them, give us a number so that we can call you. Give us an email so that we can connect with you face to face to take care of this problem. So again, addressing it publicly first so everybody knows you're not ignoring the situation, but then take it offline to resolve it. Okay? Respond quickly. Time is of the essence, and one of the things we have to keep in mind of is time zones, because not all of our customers and clients are in the same time zone as we are. And so they might post something that for us is overnight, and then when we wake up in the morning, 12 or 8 hours have passed already that have given ammunition to whatever that tweet or that negative post was. So we really need to keep track of time. There are companies that will monitor social media 24/7. Of course, that's going to cost a little bit more than having an employee who's just monitoring it from 8 to 5. But depending on the size of your firm and depending on the size of your client, they might want to invest in that if time is going to be of the essence. Another thing is, don't make it personal. Don't attack the Badvocate. Get to the root of the problem of the issue with the negative comment, the negative experience, and resolve that. But don't put it off against the advocate. You know, there's an example of a small local coffee house. Now, lots of business people, they'll set up meetings in coffee houses like Starbucks, etc. And you know, they might stay there for a couple of hours doing the meeting, checking their email on their laptop and stuff like that. Well, there was a local coffee house, and a customer tweeted to them, you know, you don't have enough plugs so that I can plug in my laptop. You only have a few, and so I really couldn't spend much time there, and it's a shame because it was such a nice environment. Well, the response that that customer got was a tweet that said, well, maybe you just need to unplug and enjoy the coffee. Okay, maybe you just need to do something other than work. And it almost put the blame on the customer that they were doing something wrong. Not that it wasn't that there wasn't enough plugs, but really that person doesn't know how to just relax and shouldn't be working all the time and that sort of thing. That person then blogged about their experience, and that local coffee shop saw a decrease in the number of people who went there and their number of customers. So again, you know, be careful about how you're responding to them. Don't blame the customer, especially not publicly. If the customer did do something wrong, you want to make sure that's the stuff that you do offline and take care of it there, okay? If it's something that you did wrong, your company did wrong, or your client did wrong, apologize. Okay, we all make mistakes, and I think the biggest complaint that customers have is when people just do not apologize. And that apology, what it does is it acknowledges that something was wrong, that something happened, that they had a valid issue at hand, and that you are saying, yes, we see what happened, we're going to take care of it. And always offer to help. Even if there's nothing that can be done, always offer to help. It's amazing how creative we can be and our customers can be about resolving issues. So it's very, very important. Also, train individuals who are responding to be patient, to not get upset and angry. Remember, it's not personal. To sort of chill out if they get a very personal remark, to not respond to that, but get back on track to the issue, okay? And another thing that you might want to keep in mind, and Social Media Examiner is another web blog that has a lot of interesting information about social media, but they also do interviews with individuals in this area. And they did one interview with the owner of a Domino's Pizza. And this owner, what he said was, if a negative comment comes in, then change that into a wow moment. And so what he did was, when a customer complained about the pizza, he went out, he hand-delivered the pizza himself, did not charge them, and created a wow experience. Sat down with the person, talked with them. Now, we cannot always do that with all of our customers or clients, but it's something to keep in mind. If something went wrong, how to convert that into a wow experience. Because you know what? If you do that, what you get is an even bigger advocate for your company. So keep that in mind. And then when you have a resolution, post the resolution. If it's something that you can post and say, hey, this complaint came in and we were able to fix it, you don't have to say the details. You just let people know it's taken care of and it's done. And that lets your customers and your clients know that you listened and you took action. And that's very important in the online world, when transparency and authenticity are really the currency of this new media, okay? And I just want to give you this one quote, and it's in your handout, and it says, if you mistweet, misfire, or misrepresent, then take the time to think of an appropriate response. Acknowledge, apologize, and be authentic. And I think that is great advice for anybody. Now, I want to give you one last example, but I want to give it with a little twist. Now, many of you may have heard about this issue with United Airlines and a musician called Dave Carroll. He had a guitar, and on one of his flights on United, he noticed that They were sort of throwing the guitar back and forth on the parapet where they were. And when he got to his destination, the guitar was broken, unfortunately. And he went to the United representative and he said, you know, this is what I saw, this is what happened. I'd like you to compensate me for my broken guitar. And he went through many, many levels, quite a few levels of individuals at United, and they never wanted to either listen to him or give him the time of day or respond to him in a way that was satisfying to him about what had happened. Now, this was a Taylor guitar. It's quite an expensive guitar, worth about $3,500 or so. So what Dave did was he created a song and he created a music video and he put it out on YouTube, and it's called United Breaks Guitars. So you have the link in your handout. You can also Google on YouTube United Breaks Guitars. He actually ended up creating 3 of these music videos, each one sort of detailing part of the process of what he was going through with United. Well, this video went viral. It went viral. He was interviewed in all the morning shows about this. Finally, United did accept to repair the guitar, but it created a lot of negative press for United Airlines. But that's not the example that I want to give you. What I want to give you is what Taylor Guitars did in response to all of this video going out. Now, Taylor Guitars, again, they were just the maker of the guitar. They weren't United Airlines. They weren't Dave. That, you know, Dave bought the Taylor guitar from somebody. But Taylor's Guitar, what they did was they created their own YouTube video in response to Dave. And they talked about in their video, now it wasn't a music video, but they showed sort of their factory, and they were talking to people, well, if you want to travel with your guitar, this is the safe way to do it. These are some tips for maintaining your equipment when you're traveling. And they also said, we're really sorry about what happened to Dave, but you know, we repair guitars here at our factory. So because Taylor Guitar was listening to what was going on, and even though it wasn't negative about them, it was about their product, and they took that as an opportunity to give great valuable information to their own customers. How do I travel with a guitar? And create some goodwill towards what was going on in that situation. So you also have that in your handout. So you can see, although it wasn't negative about them, they took the opportunity to create advocates. And that's a great lesson for all of us. If we listen to what's going on in social media, we can then respond to those who are negative against us, but also respond to those who are positive with us and have them be our best advocates. Thank you.